Alright. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I think I'm gonna noodle around for a bit, but then I think I'm maybe trying to go to back to the middle here and just instead of doing the blues comparison, just compare multiple collections of notes to try to pivot around one nodal point, so I can basically, if I was playing a song, try to think about, okay, I'm playing, subtly move from A like minor to A mixolydian, or to A Dorian, or whatever other ones I have here, because I really only have, yeah, I have A major, so I can go from A here as the Aeolian to this shape over here, to where it's the A would be the major, right, right there, Ionian, and then I have this one where it's the mixolydian. So maybe I'll do that, and then by doing that, then that opens up these other collections of notes that then I can try to pivot between. So how can we kind of modally move between different collections of notes is kind of what I'm thinking of playing with. But let me just warm up a bit. What was I thinking on warming up? I can't remember what I wanted. I was doing the up picking, and I was trying to get my rhythm stuff in there again. I was doing something rhythm wise yesterday. It was very messy. I was doing up picking. I think I was trying to slap with my thumb, I think was one of the things. Let's see if I can, which I'm terrible at doing. But I thought, like, I'm a picker, but I felt like if I put the pick in my mouth from time to time, then I could try to do some percussion thing, right? So I can be like, I could be picking, and then put the pick in my mouth, so I get the thumbs. Does anyone? I think you could do that on the guitar, or at least on the low string. Get the pick out real quick. I was watching, what's that guy's name? Luca, or not? He was able to like play a rhythm here and tap. do that with my right. It's almost. Anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna play with that maybe a little later. Let's see. But let's go into the joke first. Let's see what I got today. I don't know. I'm supposed to do a New Year's joke. Something about not going to the gym. Isn't that what you're supposed to do right now? I have a joke about not going to the gym. No, I don't. I just... let's see. I said I was, but now I'm not. And that's the joke. Okay. I'm gonna... My gym. Put the gym in the living room. Alright, I don't know what I did here on the gym. Let me get my coffee. I see a lot of videos talking about building your YouTube channel labeled when to call it quits. When to call it quits. And I feel like the general rule is very clear as to when to call it quits. You call it quits anytime you quit more than once. All right? That's the general rule. I mean, I can answer it right here. I don't even have to watch the video. Otherwise, you just call it quit without the S, you see? So, for example, if you throw in the towel, and then what you do is you call it quit. You call it quit at that point. One towel, one quit. That's how it goes. No S. But if you start again and then stop, and then you start again and then you stop, now you can correctly call it quits because the franchise has expanded. There's multiple quits involved at this point. I feel like you learn this like in grade school, okay? But you see these videos all the time out there about when to call it quits. It's like, okay, I felt like I need to break it down. So because now we're talking about multiple quits. See, if you have multiple quits, that's when you add the S. That's when you add the S, all right? Or maybe it's not just you that stops your channel, for example. Let's take another example. Maybe it's not just you that stops your channel, but your friends also stop their channels. If that happens, instead of you calling it quit, you and your friends should call it quits, right? Because now there's more than one. So the S is now appropriate at that point in time. So unless it's a collective thing, by the way, because you could have this is why it gets a little confusing, why there's probably a lot of videos out there like this. It gets a little confusing. Because if it is a collective thing where you're all doing like one channel together, but there's multiple people involved, then you all just stop at one time, it would still be quit, not quits. No S at that time, even though multiple people are involved. Because although we have multiple people, they all quit one collective project. You see how it works? Multiple people, yes, but single failure. That's the slogan. Multiple people, but single failure. Therefore, you don't call it quits. You still just stay with the quit without the S in that case. So I hope this helps. I'm trying for the 1,000th time to stop ranting. So I'm calling this particular rant quit. I'm calling this particular rant quit, which adds up to at least a 20th rant, this week. The 20th rant quits this week. If I add them up, 20th rant quit. I don't know if I got the grammar right on that. Whatever. That's why I guess people talk about it all the time. They try to get the grammar right, but whatever. I wrote a song about it. It's a Suno song. I've never actually heard it, but we'll see what Suno. I said, Suno, here's my script. Make it into a song. Make it good. And this is what they gave me. That's the only instructions I gave Suno. And we'll judge Suno for how well it does now.
Yeah. I see a lot of videos about building your YouTube brand. All of them title something like when to call it quits, man. And every time I see that S, it hits me in the head. Cause I feel like the rule is simple and it's never said. Yeah, the grammar's not emotional, it's not a viable fit. There's a difference people missing between quits and quit. You call it quits when you quit more than once. Otherwise you call it quit. One clean stop, one bad decision, that's a singular it quit. One towel, one quit, no sequel. That's it. But if you quit, then come back strong and quit again next week. Now we're not being dramatic, now we're just being precise. Cause when you stop and start and stop, you've earned a different bit. This isn't giving up, this is quits. You call it quits when you quit more than once. Otherwise you call it quit. If the franchise keeps expanding, that's a plural situation. You quit, return, and quit again. Yeah, now it's quits. Now maybe it's not just you. Maybe friends are involved. They stop their channels, you stop yours. A group decision dissolved. If everybody quits their own thing, together you admit that's not just you calling it quit. You all call it quits. But hold up, new scenario, same channel, same plan. 5 people, 1 project. Everybody ran. If you all stop at the same damn time, that's still just quit. Multiple people, yeah. But a single failure hits. Multiple people, yeah. But a single failure reads. Multiple people, yeah. But a single failure reads. That's the slogan. Hope this helps, truly mean it. This is public service stuff. I'm trying for the 1000th time to shut up and cut this off. This rant right here, I'm calling it quit. Just one rant, one ending. I swear, this is it. But if you're counting at home, let's be honest a bit. That's about 20 rant quits this week. So yeah, I definitely called it quits.
Kink in my back. Dang it. Alright. There's that. There's that. Excellent joke. No AI's taking my job on the jokes with that kind of skill level. Tell you what. Try to. Alright. Okay, so let's see if we can go over here. And I'm going to compare. I'm going to just try to mix together multiple nodes and imagine that I'm going from shape to shape. I don't know if I'm going to go the full distance today because my back hurts, but I'm going to imagine that we're noodling around A. So it seems to me that the 2 ways that we can kind of move around is I can move the tonic. So I'm on tonic A, but same collection of notes, and then I move the tonic. And now I'm kind of hanging out on nodal point 3 Phrygian. So we can kind of move the song that way or go from major to minor, which is the classic thing to do. Major, C major, Ionian. Back to minor. Back to major. Right, or you can go pivot around the one note and then go into a different collection of notes. So if A is my tonic, maybe I go from A Aeolian, and then I make it major, which I can do by visualizing the same collection of notes and sharpen the third, which is kind of like going to Mixolydian, or by visualizing the whole shape shifting around the Aeolian. So then if I go to this collection of notes, now that's the Mixolydian, right? So now so if I'm looking at this same shape and I try to analyze it from this shape, now I'm in a different shape. I'm in position number, it would be an A, oh crap, what did I do here? An A cage system shape, which would be shape number 5. Or I can go over here, and that means now this one would be this shape, which would be shape number, what I call shape number 4, or from a cage system, the E shape. And then I can, and now that means the A is now turned into the Ionian. So let's just kind of analyze that with this right in the middle of the guitar, this A. So let's actually, I don't know, let's reach forward first. So I'm going to say, let's reach out here. Here's my third. So if I start right in the middle of the guitar here, then that's kind of like as though position 1, right, like up top. Here's position 1. I'm in the collection of notes around the key of C. Put my pinky on Ionian, 8 fret, 8 1, 8 Ionian to 5 6, 5 Aeolian, and then 6 to 6, Aeolian to Aeolian, minor to minor, 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6, 6 to 6. So if I take this shape, this pattern, it should repeat right here with this node, except it gets messed up when the kink of the tuning, the fault line happens here. So if I lean forward, if I know up here I can do this to the third, then down here I can do that to the third. All right, and then that's cool. So then that's the third out there. So I have the third modal, the third is 3 modal half steps up minus 1. I'm sorry, the third is minus 1, 2 modal half steps up from 6. So 6, 7, and then around the horn to 1, because there's only 7 notes in a collection. So that would be the Ionian. Ionian is nodal point 1, which is on fret 10 and Ionian. So 10 1 is what I'm going to call it shorthand. Fret 10 nodal point 1, fret 10 nodal point 1. So fret 7 nodal point 6 to fret 10 nodal point 1. And that means that the Ionian is the first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step plus 1 third scale degree of the Aeolian, which has a distance of 3 notes away because it's going from a minor node, and we can see it's just 3 notes away. Okay, so let's say that we want then the 5th. So if I say we want the 5th, minus 1 is 4 modal half steps up from node number 6, 6 7 1 2 3. Nodal point number 3, so there's a 5th down here and right above it. Let's pick this one first, because I'm going to imagine I have my pointer finger on tonic as the basic position. So that's going to mean so I can reach down there pretty easily. So that means the third is going to be the second modal whole step times 2 fourth modal half step plus 1 5th scale degree from the 6th. And it has a distance of 7 notes away. 7 notes away is always the distance for a 5th, unless you're going from the node number 7 Locrian. And we can see that because there's 5 notes between the strings, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so let's go then to the 7, which is the next one that we build a chord with typically. So we have 7 minus 1 would be 6 modal half steps up. So that would be, so 6 would be clockwise. 6, there's only 7 steps, so I can go 7 minus 6 would be 1 counterclockwise. So that's going to be 6 minus 1 would be 5. So I can look for nodal point number 5 to get that 7. So I have one here and I have one kind of up top there, both of them kind of common to reach for. So that's going to be the general shape. So the 7, that means that nodal point 5, Mixolydian, is always the third modal whole step times 2, which would be the 6th modal half step plus 1 would be the 7th scale degree from nodal point number 6. Has a distance of a minor distance, 10 instead of 11 notes away. And we can see that because there's 5 notes between the strings, and then 10 as we go between these strings, because from the position of this node, what we're measuring from its perspective, this tectonic plate shifted to the right. So I'm always going to think of, from this perspective, staying still, the tectonic plate shifted relative to the one I'm on, which I imagine stays still, because that's the easiest way to visualize it, I feel like. All right, so that's the normal kind of shape. So if we just noodle around with those notes, those are like the common chord, I guess, arpeggio type notes, if you want to think about it that way. So if I put my pivot finger here, I also have another third up top, which is useful to kind of grab as I'm kind of just noodling around here. We'll examine it more detail later, and then it's useful to know where the box is. So kind of like the box is right up top. So if I have my pointer finger on it, it's kind of hard to reach back to on the axis to get that 7 and 3, which is the Locrian and the Phrygian, but it's pretty easy to get the 1 and the 4, Ionian and Lydian, from pivot point. So I have my pivot point on 7/6, fret 7, nodal point 6, Aeolian. Okay, so let's say I want to play something in here, and then I'm gonna subtly move to a different collection of notes. Let's say instead of going from the A minor to the C major in the same collection of notes to the Ionian, I want to go to A major. So the basic move would be to go into A major or A mixolydian, because mixolydian is kind of like more of the bluesy thing if you want to think more directly, because you don't have to flat the 7. But let's go to A major, because I don't do that quite as often, that collection of notes. So what would I have to do to shift this nodal point to A major? Like, what are the differences? Well, so we know that the first modal half step is from let's just move these out of the way and say, okay, well, the first modal half step is still a major second away, so it's 2 notes away, so that's the same. So nodal point 7 from the perspective of the Aeolian is the same, and so we'll have the same, at least a point on fret 9 and D string. And then so let's say we go to the third. Now the third is going to be off because it's going to be a major third. So all of the thirds are going to be 4 notes away. So we would expect these thirds to move out here. Boom, boom, boom. All those thirds are going to move out here. And then the fourth is still a perfect fourth. So the fourth in our case is nodal point number 2. It's going to be the same. And then the fifth modal half. Let me do this again. The first modal half step is the second scale degree, which is the same. The second modal half step, which is the third scale degree, is going to be shifted up 1 note. The third modal half step, which is the fourth scale degree, is the same. That's 6, 7, 1, 2. And then the fourth modal half step, which is the fifth scale degree, is going to be 7 notes away. That's also a perfect fifth, so it's the same. So we're going to say that's going to be the fourth modal half step is going to be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So that nodal point number 3 is the same. And then the sixth modal half, the fifth modal half step, which is the 6th scale degree, is going to be a minor 6 compared to a major 6. So let's look at the distance there. The 6th modal half step minus 1, the 6th scale degree minus 1 would be the 5th modal half step from nodal point 6. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be the Lydian. So that Lydian is going to be pushed up one. So that's going to be out here. Boom. So this is going to be out here. This Lydian is going to be pushed in here. And then the 6th modal half step, which is the 7th scale degree, has a minor instead of a major, right? This is basically as different as we can get here, although the Phrygian is even more different than the major. But the 7th is going to have a 10 note away instead of 11 note away. So with the 7 we determined was 7 minus 1 is 6 modal half steps up. I can go clockwise 6 or counterclockwise 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. So that nodal point number 5 is going to be pushed out. I'm going to copy this. It's just a complete mess, completely different shape. So this is going to be, that 5, nodal point 5 will be out here. And then this nodal point 5 will be out here. And then that's it, right? So this whole thing is a kind of a mess, right? This whole thing, the box got shifted over here, so this is eliminated. The box is on this side now. This and then this got shifted out of the way to clear the box that's going to that side, and then these two are being shifted out because the box is going to be over here instead of there. And then you've got these two shifted over, so now you have the box kind of down here. All right, so let's go over here and say, okay, how close did we get to figure that out? Wait a second. Let's go over here. And this is from the perspective of the Aeolian. Let's go down here, and I'll fix my perspectives down here. This is from Aeolian. And then if I go over to this collection of notes, where it's the major, now I want the Ionian perspective. Ionian perspective. And then this will be over here, this collection of notes. All right. Okay, so now here's the A on this collection of notes. So again, going from, it's a drastic change, obviously, to go from minor to major, right? It's going to have a lot of intervals that are different. You could more subtly go from like minor to Dorian, A minor to A Dorian or something like that. But anyway, I don't have A Dorian in my collection quite yet. So to map out. So let's say we go to, so now that A is the Ionian. So what did we do here? Well, where am I? Where did the collection of notes shift to? Well, I could say, well, now A, I wanted to make the A, that A, to be the Ionian. Let's find it on the top string. Here's my A on the top string. If that's my Ionian now, I can put my pinky on it. Then where's the related Aeolian? It's going to be back here, which is fret number 2, which is an F sharp. So that's kind of weird. So that means this is my shape number 1 back here. So if I went from now the Aeolian is on fret number 2, and if I counted that out, it would be Aeolian to Aeolian 6 to 6, 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now this, where my finger is on, it's at the end or the right side of shape number 2, but more likely I'm going to be thinking to myself, because I'm leaning forward, in shape number 3. So now really I'm on the shape number, the same node is now like in shape number 3, which is an Ionian D shape from a caged system. I call it shape number 3. You can call it from the perspective of the Ionian. If I lean forward, do like a bar type chord from that, you'd have a D shape down here. So that's like an Ionian D shape chord. I call it shape number 3 because I call the rock and roll chord shape number 1, and then just count up from there. But there it is. So that would be that. Okay. So so now let's map out the major, what I can basically play. So if I want the third, -1 would be 2 modal half steps up. So if it's the Ionian now, it would be 1, 2, 3. So that would be the third would be out here. Notice how many, so that means that the Phrygian is always the first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree of the Ionian, which has a distance of 4 notes away because we're going from a major node. So that means all the major notes have a 4 note away third distance, which is the Ionian node number 1 and node number 4 and node number 5, Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian. Okay, so then let's say that we want the fifth, 5 minus 1. If I build a chord, the other one is the 5. 5 minus 1 is 4 modal half steps up. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this obviously from the Ionian, that's what we build the scale degrees on. So that's why you have the, the numbering system should be a little bit more easy for some degrees. The fifth kind of makes sense from the perspective of the Ionian. It doesn't make sense from any other mode, in other words. So, so anyways, we're going to say there's the fifth, and then we're going to say, so how far away is the fifth? That means that the Mixolydian is always the second modal whole step times 2, fourth modal half step plus 1, fifth scale degree, which has a distance of the same distance as the minor of 7 notes away, 5, 6, 7. The only one that has a different fifth is if you measure from node number 7, Locrian. All right, let's go to the seventh. 7 minus 1 is 6 modal half steps up. I can go 6 clockwise, or 7 minus 6, 1 step counterclockwise. If I'm on 1, 1 minus 1 gets me back to 0. There is no 0. It goes back to 7, right? So 1 minus, if you go around the block and it just goes 1 through 7, 1 minus 1 doesn't go to 0. We don't have 0. It goes 1 through 7, or 7 back, or 1 back to 7, right? So the 7, I have one here, and so there's that. Now that one is a major 7, so that one looks different, right? Because it's going to have the 7 here's a major distance away, 11. So that means that node number 7 is always the third modal whole step, which is 3 times 2, 6 modal half step plus 1, 7th scale degree away from the Ionian node, which has a distance of a major distance, 11, instead of the minor distance of 10, which is only there on 2 nodes. Is there an 11 distance? That's the Ionian and the Lydian. So Ionian is almost unique because people don't play the Lydian all that much. So it's the only one that really has that major 11 other than the Lydian that people play kind of often. But anyways, it would be 5 and then 10 and then 11 because we crossed the fault line. So 11 up. So that's going to be that. And then, so that would be the major. Now in the major, it's kind of funny because when you play the major, oftentimes you don't like kind of hang on the major like sometimes you would do on a minor, on like a bluesy thing, minor blues or major. Like if this was an Aeolian, it's kind of more common just to hang out there as the root, play it a lot. Whereas if it's the Ionian, it's kind of like you use it to end with a lot more. You get the pretty walk in. So I don't know, so if you wanted to change you could change the style to be more like a style of a major to minor. So if I was playing in like the minor, maybe I'm doing more of I'm hanging on the A more. And then maybe when I move, when I move over here and I try to make it the tonic now, maybe I switch up a little. Trying to get that lead-in tone. I don't know, or you make it the same, and then you play it more like it's a bluesy thing, but you have a major 7 in it, so you might flat the 7 if you want it. If you want to do the bluesy thing, you'd smear the third right here. So if I wanted to go from A minor to an A major, but I want to make it bluesy, then I can smear the 7 and smear the third, which is here, right? That was the third that I smeared right there, and the 7. The 7 would be out here, but that's a major 7. You want the minor to make it more bluesy. back to minor. Back to major. I don't know. Let's try. Then let's see if I did it. Like if I did the same thing to the Mixolydian. So now I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna go more bluesy-ish, but I'm gonna say let's make that same node the Mixolydian node. So I'm gonna think of myself in Mixolydian. So if I'm on that node and I'm thinking of it as Mixolydian, A on fret 7, so 7, 5, then what collection of notes am I in, like in this position? Well, I can say, okay, well, if that's the 5, where's the Ionian? So I can say, well, the 5, if the 5 is up here, I could say, here it is in the top string, there's my A. Where's the Ionian relative to that? I can count up 5, 6, 7, 1, 3 modal half steps up, plus 1 would be the 4th scale degree. 4th scale degree from a major node, the 5th, has a distance from a major node. Mixolydian has a distance of 5 notes away. So I could say, okay, it's 5 notes away from that A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's going to be on node number 10, that's a D. So that's going to be my my Ionian. And then if I put my finger back, Aeolian, there's the top of my, what I call shape number 1, to orientate myself, to orient myself, to orientate myself. Don't get into that again. Just don't say that word. Orientate. Orient myself. So if it goes to, anyways, if I go from 6 to 6 here, then from a minor shape number 1, 1, 2, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So now, so that means that I'm actually right in shape number 1 now, except that I'm not focusing on the minor. I'm focusing on the Mixolydian. So I'm right in shape number 1. So that's cool. All right. So now normally if I'm thinking in myself in Mixolydian, I'm thinking bluesy. That's kind of what I'm thinking of like the minor 7 in there, you would think. So at least that's what I would think. I don't know. But if you take the third of nodal point 5, 3 minus 1 is 2 modal half steps up from nodal point 5, 5, 6, 7. So we get to the 7. So that means the 7 out here is always the first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step plus 1 third scale degree from nodal point number 5, which has a distance of 4 notes away, because once again it's a major distance, and if we want to make it bluesy, then we're going to smear into it. So that's going to be that, and then we have the 5th minus 1 is 4, so 4 modal half steps up from nodal point number 5, so 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So that means the Dorian. So we have a Dorian down here. So there's a Dorian. So that means that the 2 is always 2 modal whole steps up times 2, 4 modal half steps plus 1 fifth scale degree, which always has a distance of 7 notes away from major and minor. Only Locrian is different, so 5 notes between the strings, 6, 7. So that makes sense. What about the 7 from a Mixolydian? 7 minus 1 is 6, so it should be 6 modal half steps clockwise. 7 minus 6 means 1 modal half step counterclockwise. So I could take 5, nodal point 5 minus 1 would be 4, and you get the 7 down here. Now it should have a minor distance, so that means that nodal point 4 is the third modal half step plus third modal half step times 2. Sorry, third modal whole step times 2 is 6 modal half step plus 1, 7th scale degree from the nodal point 5 Mixolydian, and it has a distance of a minor distance even though it's a major node. That's why it's kind of bluesy. So it's 10 notes away, which we can verify by saying there's 5 notes between the strings, 5, and then 10 diagonally, because the fault line from the perspective of our tonic shifted to the right down here. Okay. So we get that. And now, okay. Interesting. So it's obviously kind of like the same thing, but now I can think of myself in position number 1, which is cool, but then I'm smearing some terrapin. No one wants to hear you do that again. All right, I'm gonna try to tap for the rest of the time. Let's go back to the normal shape, and I'm gonna try to just noodle with I'm gonna try to alternate between putting my pick in my thumb and playing like bass, and then bringing the pick out smoothly.